Hey everyone, welcome back to B&A Panorama Podcast, episode 19. Today, we're just going to be cutting straight into the action in the middle of a conversation. Hope you enjoy.
Damn,
Um,
I never thought of it like that.
yeah, like music is it the way you don't need to communicate with someone else if you are really ingrained into music or that little appreciation for it. Because when you get the chills when you're listening to music, it's not even the music isn't trying to get you to get the chills. It's just an innate feeling you kind of get with it. So when you're listening to, It Is What It Is by Thundercat, he's not going for like some grand entry to make you feel like, oh, I'm gonna get the chills out of
I
them
think
this
he is
time.
actually.
But it's not like a movie, like in a movie where they really try. It's like a different form. And you only can understand that if you really enjoy and you can feel the music differently than a lot of other people. And I think it's like I don't want to bash country music. I really don't.
No, I do. I do. It's okay.
I'll,
Country
I'll
music
I like
blows.
a few songs. All right, don't get me wrong.
No, 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 no.
Um,
Country music is the worst. It's
I
it's literally everything I hate about uh, just surface level culture. Anyways,
I think okay, the song "Cowgirls Don't Cry." I like that song just because it is a little bit deeper, but it's definitely still a country song in terms
okay,
of cadence
yeah.
and everything. Anyways, but it's so much more subtle the way that music affects you. Like when you watch a movie or you're watching a TV show, you can really tell when they're trying to make you feel a certain way. But in music that really hits you differently, it's not as obvious most times. Like blockbuster songs and pop songs and country songs, you can anticipate when they're going to say something like, and my daddy died when I was 4. Like that's when they're trying to get the emotion out of you. But when there's no lyrics and it's just songs, like a lot of artists do, it's not, they can't actually like tell you when you should feel that way. They have to do it through the actual art
That's so
of the
beautiful
sound,
to me.
which
It's
is
like
why
spiritual.
I think if you aren't like if you're in a relationship, like I was saying, with someone that doesn't feel that way, there's a lot of things that you don't need to communicate verbally in terms of like telling someone straight up something. If you have that same type of connection, like if you both listen to music and you both get that same sense of feeling from the music, there's a lot of things that translate over into real life, I think. Really, like
Oh,
you
it's
don't
it's
like there's
it's not even like I wouldn't even say it translates. I think it is directly correlated. Like not even like they are the same. Like the spiritual experience you feel is real. Like that's real life. You know what I mean? Like when you
yeah.
get the chills, not everybody does. I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. I
It's just
mean,
like so powerful. And I do want to push back on one point you made with Thundercat. You mentioned that he's not directly like trying to. Well, I disagree actually. I think he's invoking the feeling, like he's creating the scene, like and but I will say that what you feel might be different than what he's trying to project because it's just music. So we've talked about this before, but life doesn't have like any innate necessarily meaning. It's like there's a cornfield, you can walk through it like a trillion different ways, like endless ways. But if you don't pick a path, you're just going to get lost. And so we translate what the world means to us and we walk through that path, or some of us don't. And some people don't for so long that they end up just blowing their brains out because they're lost. And I sympathize for that. No, I'm serious. It's a
yeah, no,
problem. And
I
it's
laugh
also why
uncomfortably.
it's why there's school shootings too. It's because you go into the underworlds and you're so far down there that you just don't think anything matters, and so you want to just go out and make a scene, and that's why most of them kill themselves afterwards. First of all, obviously because they don't want to face the consequences. Second of all, because they don't want to be alive anymore. And so I find that really gripping to me. It's like, wow. I've read some books of some of the things that went on even in the Holocaust, and it's just like, wow,
Yeah.
like people are really tough, and every meaning that we derive is technically subjective, but that's what's so nice about music is you can interpret it how you want to you.
I think that's why we don't like country music as much because there isn't much interpretation of the lyrics. They're very straightforward.
Well, and I know how to play guitar, slight flex. And I can play almost every country song on my guitar. Yeah, try doing that in any other genre. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, good luck with that. You're gonna have to put in a lot more hours than what I did on Andy Guitar. Shout out to him on YouTube, by the way.
I mean, so to go back to the like the way that hit Thundercat, and when we're talking about Thundercat a lot, I guess, and the way that he's trying to, and like you said, we kind of disagreed, and now I'm kind of thinking about it differently. Of he's trying to invoke those emotions. I don't think he's trying to do it necessarily for the audience, though. He's making it off of how he feels, and it's an expression of like the way he feels. And those that have felt something similar or understand that feeling, that's when the people that can relate or kind of connect to it start to understand. So it's not something as straightforward as, in other genres of music where they tell you what happened, and it's pretty everyone's experienced someone dying in their life, right? Or something horrible happening. It's a lot easier to just say it out loud and people go, "Oh, I've been there before. I know that feeling." But if there's no lyrics, and I think Thundercat does that really well, is the sound of the music and the tone that's set, it really puts it forward like it's a feeling of the sound rather than just telling you what it is. And that's why if you've experienced something like that and you felt like that internally without words being said about it, that's when the connection is made. And I think
I
that's why
like that.
it's really special to think about it like that, because then there's a lot more music you can listen to then and think about it subjectively, which, everything's subjective, reason, like you were saying, if everything is either everything has reason or everything means something or nothing means something, and we all just pull meaning out of it. It's the same thing with music. I could
It's
go into
cool though because like regardless of meaning, I've also been thinking about this. You can still transform your world and it'll ripple out. So when, like you said, Thundercat makes that music for himself, the way he feels, it ripples out because other people also feel that. And so I've thought about that too, which is fascinating about music. And I'm not like somebody who's incredibly outwardly emotional, but sometimes when I listen to music, I like get lump in my throat and I'll like get the chills. And I rarely cry. I mean, like rarely, like twice a year, maybe less. I mean, and so like if music can do that, it's like I said, it's really like a spiritual experience. You sometimes some things you just can't explain, and so that's what I think music does a good job of. Is it's art. It is art, and yeah.
to kind of go off of that, I guess I do want to do a full episode on BTI one day and talk about that. I think that the people and artists making music that is supposed to be a full experience from start to finish, like an album. I feel like I don't see that much anymore. And what Childish Gambino did, to kind of go over it, is like he made it to be as one giant experience inside of the album and outside of it.
He made it free too.
Exactly. And it is absolutely insane that that type of experience, a lot of it isn't just said outright. And it's a lot of, like I said, like the tone and the feelings are what he's trying to project. And a lot of people have grappled with a lot of the stuff that he has. And by putting out there what he has felt in an artistic manner and doing it so creatively and so much passion into it, a lot of people who have experienced similar things, they're almost motivated and they feel the passion behind that and they go, okay, this is someone that has felt the same stuff I have. And I am like, this might be the best music I've ever heard before. If I feel this way, I also have the possibility. And this is pulling reason out of it, is going, if this person is able to make this beautiful of music, you pull reason out of it and think, I have just as much capability to do something if someone else has experienced this and feels it. then there is something for me to do in life, besides just dwelling on that experience. And, you know, I think music is growth, really.
Yeah.
It's reflection on the past of experiences, or like, project, like thinking about what could be the future of something, which is really good. Like his World Star song is talking about social media and all that. And it's reflection. And when you listen to music, it gives you time to reflect. And I think that's why it's such an experience, is because you're reflecting on everything, and you really get a chance to look at yourself and everything you've done, and you start to grow. Once you look at yourself truly, that's when you start to grow.
And another thing about that album, BTI specifically, is it's like he was going through the maze and he was lost a little bit. And so it's almost like you're walking together with him as he's also finding his path. And if you're also like sort of lost, of course you're gonna follow along that path. And the way I describe it is, and this is one of those where it's hard to really describe how it feels, but it almost feels like you're getting like a hug, like you're in this together. Like there's some kind of like really weird bond that we can't explain. We can't. Another thing to go with music here is you can't explain consciousness. Like we don't know exactly where we know like I'm here right now talking in this microphone, but what gives me the thought to even think? Like where did my thought come from? Because that has to come from somewhere, and where did that come from?
Mhm.
So it's really, there are so many things that we still don't know. And I think people that just brush off art or music or even spiritual experiences with the Bible, I think are missing a key element, a domain that we aren't so sure about. We don't You can't explain a spiritual experience in words. There's some translation here that's getting lost, but we all understand the same thing. But I think some people are pretending as if that just doesn't exist. Like, oh, those are just particles that are just doing this, and but there's some significance. There's some significance to the consciousness here. And you know what? If you want to go down that rabbit hole, go, well, we're just a speck on an Earth that's in the middle of the universe and a galaxy, and you go right ahead, go down that path, and you tell me how it goes, because I can tell you one thing that is not very fun, and I think I've came to conclusion that these things do matter. Like we have consciousness, and there's some kind of domain outside of just us being in our bodies, and it's hard to explain. Some people might think that sounds silly, but I would go on to bet that there's a lot of people that have felt similar way, where you just can't explain some things, and that's why I think when people get too involved in scientific explanations for absolutely everything, it can tell you why something happens, or I'm sorry, it can tell you how something happens, but it can't tell you why something happens.
Mhm.
And that's the same thing with music. Like you can tell me like when you're listening to it, it's going through your brain, which is maybe releasing dopamine, but there's still a dimension that is going beyond that, and science can't explain why. That is unexplained. And so
And
I'm sorry, that's a big long rant there, but that is how deep really music is on a spiritual level.
I'm music really is the human consciousness and experience being projected. When you hear a song, you can't objectively, like scientifically prove why a song is good, because it's all subjective. And I think that's a lot like the human experience and consciousness. So when we listen to something, you can't scientifically say why a song is good or why someone thinks a certain way about a song.
You can explain
And you
how,
can
like, oh,
explain
like the
how.
beat's good, like but it's like, but why does that sound good to you?
And it's because, as another human, we've all kind of been around there. And I don't think a robot could really say without human input. I don't think it can explain why humans find the, like other expressions of the human experience, why we find them so gratifying or appealing or just like amazing for a lot of stuff. And to go off that, I'm gonna kind of, you know, maybe not go off, but songs like "Wet Ass Pussy," I am absolutely just so upset with. Like they are the most like egregious forms of art in terms of music.
It's a bad reflection. I would say art reflects the culture of society. That's not a good
I,
reflection.
I mean, there's no. I think there's no passion in that. There's no real human experience going into that, and that's why it's not good music, in my opinion.
Lame.
It's lame. You're talking about the same thing over and over that people are going to be, it's controversial and it gets the people going. That's all it is. And people get so engorged by that nowadays about music that's just supposed to be like use buzzwords and trying to catch people singing the same thing over and over. It's not deep. It's also surface level. And when you listen to it once, you know what the song's about. There's no meaning to be taken out of it besides what is being said exactly. Maybe she was talking about women's rights and how over years and years they've been wetting down by it's like that's not what it's about. There's no deeper meaning behind it. It's just a really gross song singing about it because people are going to be like, oh, she's so brave for this and so brave for that, singing about her, wet ass pussy, as Ben Shapiro would say.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
um
I thought of Ben Shapiro.
you know that parody is great, but no, I really dislike songs like that. And the thing, and to kind of go off a little bit on a tangent, I guess, about music, I think a lot of people are afraid to go listen to new music and like put them in their playlist and just listen to them a lot because they don't want other people listening to like that and go, oh, why are you listening to that? I don't know if you ever have that, but like
I
there's
used to, but I've went so far beyond that that I just don't even care if nobody likes it. Like if it's really cool to
yeah,
me. But I think that's also a personality thing. Some people just aren't as independent and they feed off of other people. I do too. We all do off
yeah,
of our music taste as well. But
yeah. I mean, I know in high school I used to listen to music only that I knew other people would like, which is really weird to me. I don't know why I did that. I mean, some of the songs were good, but they're all like really simple, easy songs that everyone can listen to. And I think that's why they're a lot more appealing because everyone can kind of just cling to them. But songs that really give you the chills and really get you deep, they're not going to be able to be played to the masses all the time and really just like feel it. It's not a human experience that's being put into music. It's just some buzzwords that are going to get people rowdy and going, which is fine. Some music needs to be like that, like at the football stadium, thunderstruck.
yeah,
You need some of that,
yep,
but it's oversaturated for a lot of it.
yeah. And when so there's some people that don't believe that there's any religion or atheist, but what you'll find with atheists, some of them meditate and they have a spiritual experience through meditation. And you go, well, hold on. So what is the explanation here then? If you're scientific, what are you achieving? There's some kind of something in humans that we need spiritual, it's activated in our brain. And so I also think it's another reason why music, it's another way to activate that experience. And so I always find it funny when people say that they don't believe like in a god, and yet they'll have all their own like spiritual experiences.
It's like people that say they don't believe in God, but they believe in like divine karma, that like the universe is still alive. And they just kind of go around it because they don't like the idea of God, but they just kind of go around it and explain spirituality in their own way to like kind of be special. I don't know. I kind of think that like people are like, well, actually, these soul rocks that I found have given me so much power in my free time.
Yes.
It feels very narcissistic.
Or
you know?
it's even when you watch a movie and you really have an experience with it, you enjoy it. Like there's a transcendent world that we can't explain where you're going into to even feel that type of way. And we already went down that rabbit hole earlier about that, but that's why I think music is so special, is because it's like another form of communicating. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
So
But it's like I agree, I know what you're trying to say, but it sounds like it's oversimplified. Like it's a way of communicating. Well, no shit, it's a form of like, you know what I
yeah,
mean? I know what you're trying to say, but it's a very much deeper way of communicating a
yep.
lot of the time.
Because
It's
it doesn't have to be words. It's different form sound waves that aren't just words. It's
mm,
like really
it's
weird to think about it like that, but yeah,
well,
that's I think that was a pretty good episode on music.
yeah, I think we, got all music out there. We were really getting into that about
Yeah,
uh, especially Thundercat and Childish Gambino. If
yeah,
anyone hasn't listened to that, I'd highly recommend to listen to them.
yes. So thank you for tuning in. We kind of just cut into a conversation, just started recording because we were like, you know what? I like the way this sounds. Let's just keep going. So you got to listen into one of our conversations on music and life. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week. Be great, be built different.